On Standpoint, we turn attention to the sad development from the Okuama community in Ughelli South local government, where 17 army personnel were killed. The military has recovered the bodies of the soldiers. On Thursday, the troops responded to a distress call and were ambushed by irate youth in the community. The reinforcement team, led by commanding officer, was also killed. The team included the commanding officer, 2 majors, 1 captain, and 12 soldiers. By Saturday, we learned that the Chief of Defense Staff had ordered an investigation into the brutal murder. Arrests have been made and a manhunt actually continues. President Bola Tinubu has sent a strong warning to the perpetrators. The president, in a message, joined the Nigerians and the men and women of the armed forces to mourn and express profound grief over the killings. He said the incident demonstrates the dangers faced by the country's servicemen and women in the line of duty, and he salutes their heroism, courage, and uncommon grit and patriotism. President Tinubu said, quote, "Members of our armed forces are at the heart and the core of our nationhood. Any attack on them is a direct attack on our nation. We will not accept this wicked act," end quote. The president also granted full authority to the Defense Headquarters and the Chief of Defense Staff to apprehend anybody found culpable for this unconscionable crime. I'm now joined by security expert Brigadier General Anthony Onibasa, retired, and factional president, Ijaw Youth Council, Theophilus Alaye, to discuss this. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program. Let's begin with you, Brigadier General Onibasa. How did you feel when you heard this news, and especially when you saw images from this community?
Thank you, thank you, TVC and Bosse, for having me. It's always a sad development when men that have sworn their lives to defending a nation are subjected to such brutal end. Every man that settles for service has it at the back of his mind that he is willing to give his today so that the rest of the citizens would have a tomorrow. The incident that happened in the Niger Delta last week was particularly very sad because the commanding officer, and indeed those soldiers, are men that have served this nation in the most difficult places, the most difficult circumstances, have excelled and survived, only to be slaughtered like chickens at the backyard under circumstances that they thought they were amongst friends. I've heard all kinds of insinuations. Oh, they were not on a peace mission, they were not on this, on that. Let me say a few things about the commanding officer of 181 that died in that incident. He was an officer that you could call an infantryman of infantrymen. I remember inducting him when I was in Army Headquarters in operations into operations in the Northeast. He did so well that he got accelerated promotion. That's an uncommon thing within the service. He served in the most difficult places. When he was posted to Gwari, he made an instant difference with regards to the bandits. For those of you that don't know how Gwari is, it's like a no-go area and a deep cell location, a strong point for bandits in the current fight against banditry in the Northwest. This officer has also served in the South-South for quite a long time. He has been in 195, again, Ebode. He was garrison commander in Asaba before he took up this assignment. So he's familiar with the South-South. I've also listened to royals in the South-South speak about him. I heard what our respected statesman, Clark, also said about this officer. So it tells you that for whatever reasons, whatever grievances, whatever challenges we have in the North, in the South-South, in the Delta, it is one of the saddest things that Nigeria has ever experienced. So for me, it was really, really sad, not just from the perspective of knowing this person personally, but knowing that those officers in their dying minutes would have felt thoroughly betrayed by the nation that they had sworn to give their lives to.
Well, let's turn to Mr. Alaye. One wonders what could make a group of people turn on personnel who are positioned to restore calm in a community. Whatever came over them to not just kill, but I mean, in such a brutal manner, these personnel of the military who were on a peace mission. How do you see this incident and efforts to fish out the perpetrators?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me once again commensurate with the family of the deceased military men, the gallant soldiers of the Nigerian Army, that this unfortunate incident that took their life at Okuama community in Delta State. And the Nigerian military who have lost these gallant soldiers that have put in their best for the territorial integrity of Nigeria and internal dispute management. As a people, the Niger Delta over time has always been very, very relatively peaceful. What happened last week is really, really a bad omen that the people of the Niger Delta never wish to experience at this point in time. Before the amnesty, the Niger Delta was always put in bad light. And as a result of that, from the youth, elders, everybody, we put in effort, time, to see that we sensitize our youth not to key into such kind of acts. And after the amnesty, I believe this is the first time we are experiencing this kind of unwarranted killing of Nigerian military. While we commiserate with the people of the Nigerian military and the family of those that died, we are also condemning what actually happened in Bayelsa State, Igbomotoro community, where the military, in the name of looking for the culprits that carried out the act, killed over 40 Ijaw boys, Ijaw youth, Igbomotoro youth, unarmed in close-range fire. Please, what we expect the Nigerian military to do is that at any given point when such kind of information, intelligence report has been gathered, the best thing and the right thing to do is to apply the international rule of engagement, where the culprit itself will be looked for and brought to book to face justice. As I have said, what transpired in the Okuama community is a big tragedy. And that is why, as a council, we are appealing to the military, to the Office of the National Security Advisor, and to Mr. President, that an independent investigation team is being set up to dig out the real cause of these military persons that were killed.
I hear you, Mr. Alaye.
Innocent people.
Yes, I hear you. Yes, and I wanted to ask you, Mr. Alaye, what are you doing as a youth council, a council of young people, to support the manhunts for the culprits?
Yes, as a council, as a youth, as a team, we have already set up an investigation team to support the military in information gathering so that we can get to the root cause of this problem and bring the culprits to book. In as much as this particular incident happened in the community, we are aware that there are first-class information. So we shouldn't be in a hurry to draw into conclusion what really happened. Till date, we don't know if it is as a result of bunkering people that the military's personnel were killed, or it was as a result of the land dispute that is happening between Okuama and Okoloba that led to this killing. So what we want to do is that we want the culprits that carry out this barbaric act brought to book, and that is why we, as youth angle from the youth area, we have set up an internal investigation team.
All right, then.
To support the military. And that is why we really want an independent investigation team to be set up.
All right, then, but whatever the cause is, okay, then, but whatever the cause is, you have said that it is condemnable. Let's take the conversation back to the Brigadier General. The president has given marching orders to the defense headquarters and the chief of defense staff to fish out the perpetrators. There are some who are of the view that the police, which has responsibility for internal security, should rather be the one handling this matter. What do you think?
Thank you very much. I've heard that view also, and indeed, certain security experts have also expressed that view. But we need to understand, if you check Section 218 of the Constitution, the roles of the armed forces are clearly spelled out: to defend the territorial integrity of the nation, to bring a war to a favorable conclusion where deterrence does not work, and also to support the civil power, to aid internal security is one of the functions of the military, and then to support international arrangements such as OAU or all these peacekeeping and international peace efforts around the world. These are clearly defined roles of the armed forces. Now look at the Nigerian stage. Nigeria right now is a high-risk business environment. Whether we want to face it or not, we are in a state of near insurrection, where you have crime rates in excess of 60% on the average as a national average. You have well over 200 killings in one particular area based on criminal activities, based on criminal violence, based on militancy. You cannot tell me that it's a police action. It is a point. The truth is, what is happening now is that we are over-militarizing our police because we do not want to accept the fact that Nigeria is near a state of war. What I think should be said is, look, the military, or a force that is not as lethal as the territorial military, could be set up. The Nigerian military is under 200,000, covering a space of over 623,000 square kilometers. That's the size of this nation. So this nation is underserved militarily. The situations where you find the military introduced are all situations that ought to be handled by the military. Even in advanced nations, they do not have situations go this bad before they call out the National Guard, which is actually pseudo-military, and then they call out the military itself to support such operations. Policing in this country is becoming overly militarized. Ordinarily, you expect, if you know the Yoruba word for police is olopa. So a policeman is pictured as a baton carrier. Today, we have a highly militarized police. Even the population is militarized. Before you go into any quarrel with anybody, are you all right? Do you know who I am? It tells you that it has affected our psyche as a people. So what I expect is for the military to be supported, just like the last speaker, Dr. Alaye, just said. It is important that there is local support. The kind of situation we find ourselves, there are three key things that need to be achieved if we want to make progress. One, you must have the support of the population. The second thing is you must have boots on the ground. You must have soldiers, you must have policemen, you must have security agencies on the ground. And quite frankly, the Niger Delta region is still militarized. I think the challenge was, following the amnesty, there was not a proper demobilization or demilitarization of the area. So there exists all kinds of mushroom and aggrieved militant groups, all kinds of vigilante groups, all kinds of self-help military groups, and violent ones at that. I can tell you straight from where I'm seated that the Niger Delta state is not one for the police. And if you ask an honest policeman, they will tell you the same thing. I see the other day, the government was procuring some advanced protection equipment, some military grade equipment for the police. And I really shook my head. And I'm like, this is not the way to go. Setting up an armed police force would not do us any good as a nation. And the moment the people become militarized in their own setting also, will all seek self-help. I do not discount the fact that when you look at the level of underdevelopment in Niger Delta, you are probably willing to sympathize with any form of protest. But the level of violence, the culture of violence that has taken root, and the fact that we have not yet de-escalated the region properly is the challenge with regards to that Niger Delta, not calling police to come and do the kind of job that is required.
All right, but how, going forward now, how do we ensure civil-military relationship that is smooth, where the population is happy to interact with personnel of the armed forces, the police and other security agencies, and very willing really to share intel with them to help in curbing crime and criminality? Let's take from Mr. Alaye, and then we'll come to you, Brigadier General, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. In as much as from the youth angle, we are always open to support the security agencies. And as a youth organization, and that is why you see that over time we have been engaging our youth on mind shift, giving them this needed sensitization so that things of this nature would not be happening in our region. We really want to support the Nigerian military, and at least at every given point in time in our communities, we know there are set down leadership structures. Bring them on board, and when issues of this nature come on board, definitely we have to bring both parties together and support the military, support the security agencies. You know, trying to take this kind of actions, like my own worries. This incident happened in Delta State, and it's people in Bayelsa State that is experiencing or paying for what happened in Delta State. The question is, this thing happened between Thursday, Friday. On Sunday, as early as 7 o'clock, the military have carried out the needed investigation to know where the culprits has went to. And we are all aware of the Niger Delta environment. The approach at which the Gomatoro community was attacked is really, really regretting. And when issues of this nature come, we are feeling that the people on ground should be called on board so that we can definitely go into and fetch out those people that carried out this act, so that unnecessary killing of innocent souls will not be happening. Why the Niger Delta of today is, our target is to see how we can rebrand the Niger Delta. Let's be that there is a Niger Delta that is business friendly. This is a Niger Delta that investors can come in and comfortably do business, so that even the youth can have job opportunities and have food on their table to really de-escalate this level of militancy that is being experienced. And I can tell you that after the amnesty program, I believe there was tremendous and relative peace in the Niger Delta.
I hear you, Mr. Alaye. Yes, I hear you, and I must really appreciate you. I would have really wanted Brigadier General Nibasa to say something about what can be done with regard to constructive engagement so that we don't see this again. If you can do that within 30 seconds, sir.
Okay. Violence of the citizens. Unfortunately, there's a diffusion of power from the center. There are all kinds of violent non-state actors who are also wanting to be heard, and they're expressing themselves, again, against the background of proliferation of small arms and light weapons. It is not a purely military solution. You must have a developmental strategy to address this. I looked closely at the amnesty program, and I realized that there was a gap. It was just skill acquisition. There was no path, there was no route to market, essentially. There was no path for these men. Haven't trained them overseas, haven't sent them to universities, haven't given them skills for them to create jobs or to even have opportunities to express themselves. So they are back to the very thing they know best to do.
And we hope that in the days ahead,
beyond the military solution.
All right then. We hope that in the days ahead, all of those are considered. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Security expert, Brigadier General Anthony Onibasa, retired, and Factional President, Ijaw Youth Council, Theophilus Alaye, for joining us on the program today. Well, that's our program, but then we will be interrupting our regular programming to bring you a live transmission from Anambra State. Would have World Now on the top of the hour on Ofcom, while the live transmission would actually continue on our channels. Thank you for watching. Good afternoon.